lady actually radioed her over by the rest area at 124.
You don't lose your license for something like that?
So she got pulled over, right? Oh yeah, I got her.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, just going to Des Moines to see her boyfriend.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
like, it's not that important.
Right. Yeah.
I could say something, but
Yeah, I was gonna too, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the fastest one I've had.
Thinking they're gonna get by.
Call this meeting to order, Stuart City Council special meeting, tentative agenda, Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, 5:30 p.m. Council assembly. Call to order. Patrick.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Kaba.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Patrick,
Second.
second by Kaba. How do you vote? Patrick.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes.
Kaba.
Yep. Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Okay. Three, 2024, 2025 budget session.
okay, I asked for all here, been through that before, so it's nothing new. We gave you the proposed new budget. We have this front of you, say draft one. You got that, draft one.
Yeah.
Okay. First page is the most important page, which shows on the top, would say with gas, electric, and without gas. That's a valuation that we have. You see, our valuation came this year, 34 million, which is double the last year. I think that's the good news that you need to know about to start with. Last year was 16, this year is 34. And debt service valuation, last year was 84, this year is 95 million. Ag land, last year was 547, this year is 386. So that's the first of the good news, that the valuation increased from last year. But I want to remind everybody that last year is this year, current fiscal year that we work on. And I'm sure we all were here when we received the last year evaluation, and we're working on deficit. That we decided to use our reserve to be able to operate and then give 7% increase to all the department. You all experienced that with me last year. And I explained all the stuff is correct, so correct up to date with us. So this year, it's our chance now to recover from the deficit to a surplus, right? We look here at row number 5 in the middle of the page here. Row number 5 was a column sale request with utility replacement. The new, the top here, actually, I talked to Chip today, he wanted to know about the new regulation, all the stuff. It's, the state comes out with a lot of stuff in a year to kind of make things a little bit look complicated, but it's not really. I'm trying to simplify, which is the work around the whole back and all the stuff to get you to the bottom line is don't exceed your maximum amount of levy. And we always stay with our amount of max levy. You see what I mean? It's always 8.8. That's really, don't exceed it. If you exceed it, you won't be able to levy for anything else. So what you see here is, where it say consolidated general fund levy calculation. That's a new bracket that you see here. Show you in fiscal year 2024, our levy was 8.64. This year, our max to levy for is 8.38. It's less than last year because they came up with a new regulation that you can tax for emergency. And unfortunately, they took the library levy away. You can't levy for it. And then they gave you the percentage of last year, max dollar. They give you the percentage of this year, max dollars that you can exceed. 292,622. So when you go to that row 5, we all seen that. I levy for 292, which is the max that I can levy for. That's the new regulation, as Chair and I have been talking about, all these changes. We don't exceed that, but if we exceed, we can't levy for what's gonna come down. So you go to row 25, that gives you the total, go to row 14, we levy for our property insurance, but not the full levy, because we have another levy for it, which is the stuff that we do every year for health insurance and property insurance. So I just levy for 55. And then you go to row 26, we levy for the ag land, which we don't get much really from the ag land, just $1,100. And then you go to row 30, FICA and IBAR, I levy for 57. Of course, the actual amount is 280. But I will show you why I levy for less. And then I levy for, that's the debt service. We have 3 issues of debt service that we levy for. The property insurance and health insurance, the police, and the car, and the fire truck. Those are only 3 issues. We're lucky that we're very close to the fire truck is gonna be paid by next year. And the police, I will talk about the issue when we go down to the budget. And that takes me down to tax levy to 15.50. Last year it was 15.51. So I decreased it, but no big decrease, but I would call it decrease. We stayed the same. So if you look at the chart behind you here, you see the tax on the top, we kept it the same or less. And then we're gonna go try to see the 2 things, because that's really what the budget is all about. Tax, services, and reserves. If we try to keep the tax lower, not higher, and try to enhance the service by keeping the same service, the service means what we provide, police, street, rescue, that's the service that we provide. We keep it the same and enhance it, we accomplish the reserves. If we keep it at the level that we had a policy to keep it at or increase it, we did a good budget. We did a balanced budget if we get those 3 elements. So the first one, we check mark here that we kept it the same or less, the tax. Now we go to the next page. That's something the state came up with last couple of years. We take some of that levy on the first page, they call it max levy, which is liability, property insurance, and FICA and IBARs. If it exceeded the max of the limit, you have to explain to the people why. But if it doesn't exceed, ours doesn't exceed, it's minus 50.
I was just gonna ask that question. What happens if you exceed that?
You have to explain why you exceed.
Okay.
And because we're gonna go to a public, we're gonna put notice of public hearing in the paper, and we're gonna have a public hearing in February meeting to explain to the public why we increase. But we didn't increase, we decreased.
Yeah, okay.
So page, you will see the expenditures. This is the service. This is the second one, and we're gonna go in that triangle. It's the service. Before we go to the service, I'm glad to tell you that I kept the service, I enhanced, and I give more than last year. Last year, we were giving 7%. I gave more because the money that we got extra, we have what I call it holes to fill. The first one is the police department has grant for the first officer. Mike probably will be recalling that with me. That grant expired after 3 years, and it's expired this year. So we have to fill in the gap between and our share. We were able to fill that because we got more from the valuation. So we were able to fill that. So the difference between the budget of the police from last year to this year is filling that gap. The 75 from the general, I gave him 315. So that filled that gap, so we have the first officer now on our term, not between federal and city. We are fully funding the police, first police officer. And we would 4% for enhancing the budget for that. And that was the request. I met with all the department heads, and some of them is here tonight at gym. And all what they asked for were met. This budget, that's why you don't see it from here today, because we met the request. And that's a copy of their budget, or everybody's budget. If you would like to look at it, that would be the, it would be here. So they all met, all the department heads, we met the request. So we start with the police on number one here, 31517, go to number 5, that's the fire department. That's what they asked for, they got it. Met with the fire chief and he's happy. Ambulance, that's what they asked for, the difference between, they got the increase between last year and this year, based on the increase of their own money. They generate money, it's not enough to cover the whole budget, but they generate more than last year, so we gave him more in the budget. Number 11, that the total, sorry, number 8 is, that's the miscellaneous, that's building fund, we have, fire and rescue have that building fund, we usually put $1,000 for that fund. We usually put $1,000, that's the standard thing, we put it in each budget. We go down to number 18, that the street budget, that's exactly how we propose it, with the increase of some of the issues that needed increase, like for the, just few increase on his budget as he requested. Garbage, that's set amount, because we have 99,344, that's a set amount we always have in the budget, give and take, we don't exceed it or we don't go beyond that. And then you go down to 31, that's the library budget, got 3% increase based on the request. And it was a legitimate request, so we increased it 3%. Parks, 33 and 34 did the swimming pool and the parks and all this stuff. Parks stays the same, the 5,000 plus the increase from last year. 34 is the recreation, that's the swimming pool. You see 51, actually swimming pool cost us more than 51, but that swimming pool always go into budget because they start July and end in September or August. So that's half of the budget. I showed it two budget. Page 35, that's a cemetery, that's a 37 because our contract and our expenses are exactly, that's what it cover. We go to page 2. Row 40, to the right, where it say TIF special revenue. That's a TIF we certified in December, and this, we certified 2.0 million. That shows in the expenditure and in the revenue. We receive it from the county after we certify, and was intended to pay off our principal and interest on our debt service. You go to 52, that's our, I call it our department, it's a general administration department. We pay the general insurance and we pay the council members for meetings and the lawyers and all that stuff. I usually keep it steady, that number. Is mainly more, it depends on what we go through. And then you go down to 59, all the way to the right. This is where it shows water, sewer, and electric. Water and electric, it's a utility budget. They are moving on their own, but we have to put it in our budget. And sewer is a standard number. We give him exactly what he asked for. as operation. If we have capital improvement, it's completely different than this budget. Operation, this is completely operation. We go to the next page with the revenue. Go 1 through 6. This is coming from the first page of the taxation that we're gonna get from the levy. It's distributed here between general fund, special revenue, and debt service. And then number 5 here, that's what was just talking about, the TIF money, that what we receive is a 2.0, is what we spend 2.0, raise the principal and interest. Number 11 is the hotel and motel tax. Expect a little bit of increase because last year we got some increase. We got 144, so I'm hoping we get 150. Number 12 is the local option sales tax. Same thing, got a little bit of increase, so should come up with 310. Last year I was 307. Number 14 is the license and permit. That's when we have building permits and all that stuff. Number 15, use of money on property. That's what you earn on CDs and saving all the stuff. Go to item number 17, where it says 235 to the right. That's the money we get from the road use. And they give us the estimated number for that. So we get that from the state. Go to number 9, number 18, that's between the 16 and the 7 and the 35. This is what they call the backfill. Remember a while ago when they were taxing the businesses of industrial 100%, then they make it 90% instead of assessing them 100%. And they told us they're gonna give us a 10% difference. And that's what their estimation of what they're gonna give us. You always hope that you get it. I don't know
So it's
if
not a
you get it.
guarantee, that's not a guarantee then.
No. But that's a calculation that they give us, that they will reimburse us that money. I don't know if we're gonna get it or not, but number 19 is the local grant and reimbursement. That's a township for the fire and rescue and library and all this stuff. Go to the right, we say 5.5 million. That what I budget with the capital project. I think this budget, I'm going 5.5 for that 8 million that we have. That we got the foundation for Pongo. So I hope we spend 5.5 next year, and I don't know. It's an estimated number, but it's a washout. It shows in the revenue and expenditure. We just anticipation of what we're gonna do. And then you go down to line 21 all the way to the right. That's what the water and electric is gonna spend. What we're concerned about is number 22 is the sewer. We're gonna receive 411, and that's still standard fixed number that we gave because the rate doesn't change. The rate is fixed, and the anticipation of our revenue is always fixed. Give and take, you know.
I was gonna say, with the new houses being on there, does that increase a little bit?
Give and take, yeah, little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do increase a little bit up with the revenue, little bit up with the expenses because.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
That
it's
makes sense.
kinda.
It's kind of a wash then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And we make little bit of a profit, and it's always fixed profit. too,
Sure.
On the sewer, because enterprises, they make profit, they have to make profit. We can't work on a loss, because anytime he can come and ask for something, it needs to be done.
Yeah,
He can't wait, especially on the sewer and electrical water too. It has, you have to have reserves for them to be able to operate right
to
now.
operate, you know.
Yes. Then we'll go to 27, that's how much was spent on the landfill and garbage between the hauling and landfill and all the stuff. Still fixed number 2. And then number 33 is fees and charge for services. That's rescue unit when they go out and do around the charge for services. You have the swimming pool, they bring money from the services that all this money that we get from the people to get into swimming pool and all the stuff. That's what it is, you know. And then you go to 36 is miscellaneous, that's some money that is not really budgeted, but we get like franchise fees, we get some for that, we get now gas franchise, we get some, that's where the miscellaneous is. And then there's a transfer, 38, that's transfer and match the transfer out. 55 is the money I get in the TAFE for the economic development director hiring, and I transfer it. You go to the right, you see 1.2 million that I receive money in the TAFE, you know, and I pay from the debt service, accounting procedure. So I receive it in the TAFE, make a transfer to the debt service to pay from the debt service. Any outstanding that we have has to be paid from the debt service. That's the transfer in and out, wash out too. That's it, you go to the next page, you see adopted budget summary. So that combines the three pages that I just talked about, revenue and expense. So when you look at the chart again back here, we accomplished the tax to keep it the same, the services. We get the 7% we gave them last year, and we give more, between 3 to 4% this year. So the service is enhanced. The reserves is gonna be replenished. When you look at this page that has adopted, between the revenue and expense, look at item number 32. You see there's 150 surcharge. When you look at last year, we had deficit of 86,000 last year. We are operating this year on 300 to 350,000 deficit. We're gonna take it from the reserve. So now we're not taking from the reserve money, we're operating on the same level of service, but we're keeping the 7% increase last year and giving another 3%, so that's 10%. And if everything goes according to this budget, we should have a surplus of 150 that will offset the next line of the 230. So you should break even. That's what you call it, balanced budget that you have. Here, you go to the next page, we give you a breakdown of your debt service. And like I said, all the debt service we have, they're out of there, except the three issues that I mentioned here, police, fire, health insurance. The next page is what is gonna be in the paper to combine all that stuff and show the public that our tax rate is 15.50, hasn't changed from last year, slight decrease from last year. That's very much all about the budget. My good news is the chart behind me, as I always show every year, we got it taken care of. I give you balanced budget, I give you surplus, not a lot of it, but it's surplus. I didn't increase taxes, I enhanced the service, and I kept the reserve strong. Hopefully that will be all I can do for you in the meantime, unless you have questions.
Did you add extra in the cemetery for setting stones?
That I'm gonna explain to you what we're gonna do with the cemetery, but let's
Okay.
finish this first, because there's another step that we're gonna talk about. Any question around this, if it is okay with you, that would be what I'm hearing to finish the budget for the next year.
Good work.
Thank you. So we'll move on. I have another stuff that I want to talk about it. That's not related to this here. This was done with the budget. The good news, the second good news now. Okay, we have money coming from that camera thing, okay? We're not talking about budget or anything now. We're done with that. I would like to meet in April or May in a special work session in regard to that money. Because now, for the first time, and I'm glad you're gonna experience that with me, that we will able now, after talking to all the department head, I discussed that with them, that every year, I always consider something, I call it wish list, to all the development. They entitled for that wish list. But in the past, or for the last 29 years, I am limited to what I have. So I don't know what to do. We just take it one issue at a time. I think now we will have the money to, I don't call it wish list now, I call it a list that he had been waiting for a long time. They really have waited. And I'm not talking about one development, I'm talking about all the development. You know, one of the cemetery, we've waited a lot of the budget needs to be done. Street, sewer, fire, rescue, they all waiting for their list to be accomplished. And of course, the police. So we need to meet and talk about that stuff, because I can do by myself, you have to have your input with me, and Chet is more than welcome too, because in the next few months, I'll be working with him on different financial planning and all this stuff. So what do you think about that concept of meeting? Because one of the issues that the mayor just brought up is projects need to be done to the center. We've been waiting, and Mike has been waiting with me on this process of, Mike Johnson had a lot of good ideas, but we just unfortunately weren't able to do it because we're tired of it. It's about time to get it done, really, because that money, from what I receive from everywhere, that started with, I believe, with municipalities, fellow city administrators, that they had this concept of camera and they have the money. They all recommended that we go into capital projects. Anything with capital project, equipment and all the stuff, headed right on the money. Don't commit to perpetual expense like wages and all this, because you don't know. They can come
Right.
1 year and the next year they will tell you, no, you're done. You see what I mean? So that's what got me to discuss these issues with all the department head and see what your need is. Give it to me, and then I'm gonna give it to the council. I'm gonna sit down and try to analyze these things. What we really need to do, or what we don't need to do, what can we wear on. But if it works according to the numbers that I ran, we should be in good shape, really in good shape to do that. And if we do that, we'll be able to go next year, reduce the taxes big time. And I mean big time, because you already met the department head's request for operational budget. This is operational budget, not capital. And then you met the capital need next year, you can reduce the taxes big time, and I mean big time, because they won't have anything to ask for. And that allow us to see what we really can do with the tax. So May will be fine, April, May, what do you see reasonable? All I'm waiting for just the camera to be installed, because I can't talk about it, even with the department head, we didn't talk money or anything. I just wanna see the cameras there, and that guarantee there's money coming. And he said 3-4 months, and that was last month.
I do like where you're going with that, to fulfill the needs of all the departments instead of doing something, which maybe later down the road, we can do something big.
If we
But,
continue. If we-
Yes, if we, if we
Yeah,
keep
allow us
going.
to have,
I totally agree with you 150% on that. I think that would be an opportunity to get all the needs taken care of.
Yeah.
Then if it does go away or whatever the case may be, I don't know. But then the budget can still function and operate.
yes.
I do agree. And
Great. We
And
really have the opportunity this year to do all that.
Are we gonna have is this an opportunity to discuss that you could use some of that potential funding to pay down some of this debt also?
Okay, yeah. What we're doing now, I don't want to say give numbers because I'm not sure.
Right,
You
right.
have to excuse me with that because I'm not sure. And I don't want anybody to label us with the numbers.
Right.
But from the stuff that I gather, you will meet what you need. And then you will be able, this is what I'm talking about, reducing the taxes. Because if we go and pay off that stuff, that's a reduction of the tax. Will be living. I have 3 items here. If I have the money, I'm done. I'm not living for anything. You see what I mean? Really, if I had that money right now, those 3 items that I have for debt service, it will be done. You know, so that's really, without saying numbers and all this stuff, because I don't want the developer head to come tomorrow and make my life.
Sure.
But if it goes his way, we're really on the right track, you know? If I had that money right now when I'm talking to you, that taxes will be completely different.
We do have to be aware moving forward too on how much we would lower that with tip certification, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, we don't wanna plummet.
That's a
No,
good
then
point, yeah,
we just have
that's a
to-
good point.
I mean, obviously the goal would just be incrementally
yeah,
lower.
and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I'm taking things very easy, going up and down, you know, I didn't react last year when they gave a reduction, and I'm not reacting or overreacting or even overwhelming with the budget. I give an operating budget based on that concept that I always, for the last 29 years. I give the triangle in good shape, I give you balanced budget, and I did it. But I'm taking the whole subject in a different direction, which is accounting. I'm not tying it to the budget. And my discussion with Chip was based on that concept. Him and I have a plan for the TIF and all these things, and we both seeing eye to eye on all these things. So we've been talking for the last week, 2, 3, 4 times. So with him and I, we have that plan, you know, of keeping things in perspective.
And really, and not that any of us will see this out, but here in a few years, we should be in really, really good shape.
Yes, and I really guarantee you'll be in good shape. Today, you are in good shape, not even in 2 years, you are in good shape. Talking about, I still call it wish list, I shouldn't, but talking about wish list, that's accomplishment. Really, to get to this point, for 29 years, I couldn't talk to them about it. But today, I'm saying, yeah, let's do it, you know, let's get it done, let's get it behind us and move on. The police was impressed when the mayor was there. I was like telling him, I'm glad I'm here doing that, you know, because I didn't expect it to happen, but thanks for the work on the cameras, thanks for all these things. I couldn't have done anything by myself. With the help of the council members, we were getting things going. You are in good shape now, and you're gonna get better. And you're really gonna get better. So let's plan on May, if it's that okay. Go ahead.
When are they thinking that, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Bishop.
I just didn't know if you had heard and anticipated.
They told us 3 to 4 months, and that was last month. So I'm
Okay.
saying by April, they getting all the bill made from the DOT and all these things, we have nothing to do with.
Because there's gonna be a 1-month grace period,
Yeah,
something like that, right?
yeah. I'm not worried about collection, because if it's installed and it's running, collection for me doesn't matter. I can pay and reimburse and all the stuff based on what I get. I'm just worried about seeing it there, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't wanna come here in a month or 2 after I made all the promises and all the dreams, and then they tell me, no, the legislator met and said, adios, and it's kinda, it would be hard.
Yeah.
So that's kinda the plan that I have for Rick.
He just kind of solidified one of my questions, but the other one is on the flip side of what you mentioned. You know, what happens when that money will eventually go away? Say we've lowered our tax rate 5%, 10%, whatever it is. You know, to get back to where we have a balanced budget, I mean, are we able to just flip a switch and bring that all the way back up to where we were? Do we have to go in incremental values year over year to regain that? I mean, I guess I don't know how that
No, I'm
works.
glad, this is an awesome question. I'm glad you asked that question. My style of budgeting is I do budget for 3 years. The budget that I'm giving you now, I have budget until year 27, 28. And she has it, so just in case I die. No, really, I'm being honest, you know, I give everything to someone in the office so they can keep going, you know. I do the budget for the next 3 years. I do my reserves looking at 3 years ahead, you know. That's why I said when I got more, I didn't get excited. That's fine. I just paid 300,000. You're giving me 150 more, okay. I'm gonna use it, but wisely, and I'm gonna reinvest a little bit of the 300. So even if we land on reducing the taxes and all the stuff, start next year, when these things is going, we will be having enough on the reserves to maintain the promises. But Chip and I had a long vision on all that stuff, because Chip will give you a forecast and a comprehensive thing for the next 3 to 4 years, or even more than that. And that's what's good about Chip, is he doesn't give you just this year, where you're at, or next year. You will have a comprehensive plan for the next 10 years. He knows what the valuation is gonna be for the next 5 to 10 years. Working with him and having our reserves, our taxes going, I would say, step by his comprehensive plan, it should look good. If I am not here, there will be someone carrying the flag. Just take my work and follow my footsteps. That's all I'm asking. And that's all I tell whoever I give the work is, just follow what I'm doing and then be creative. You do whatever you want to do, that's fine. And it doesn't matter who's gonna follow. If they just follow these plans, they will be in good shape. We've done it for 29, this is the 30th one, like 30 years with the town to get budget done. So far, Chip and I working together for the last 29, 30 years, and maybe 25. I'm
25.
older than me. I'm older than him. We've done good, we got budgeting work perfect with the chart that we have. And it seems like we are gonna look better than this year. Look, next year's gonna look better and better. I'm glad we have that good group with us that willing to go the extra miles with the camera, with the rescue meetings and all these things. It seems like it's working. Things are working. And let's continue.
So I know, maybe Craig doesn't, but I know a lot of people, we kind of self-imposed a budget. I can't even think of the word. We want to try to keep it around 15%. It's our levy, keep about $1 million in the reserve, and what's the third part of it?
Keep services the same or better.
Keep service the same. So I don't know, have you had a chance to run this or look at it, or?
I've not seen the budget that Ash has put together, no.
Okay.
But he kind of focuses more on the expense side, and would look at more of the revenue side and paying TIF debt,
Okay,
because there's such a TIF burden out there right now. But
okay. Is there anything, when you say TIF burden, you know, it's kind of gives me some feeling on this, but is there anything, should we have this looked at and run through that budget model that Chip put together for us? Or,
so what's in your budget model now is at least in these sheets, and if you want to look at it at a later date.
I mean, we can look at it, yeah. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, we can always look at it at a later date. I mean, I want to be sure that we are meeting that. I think we are. But I'd like to see you have a chance to look at it and let us know.
The budget model reflects the levy staying the same.
Okay.
And the key driver for, obviously you have the fundamental issue of maintaining sufficient city operations and reserves this is on the diagram. Through the end of the June 30, 2029 fiscal year, the city's TIF debt is very elevated. So just speaking as a financial person, I'd keep the levy probably about the same through that fiscal year. So this is fiscal year 25, so fiscal year 27, 28, 29. I try to keep it the same just so you can maintain your levy is a key driver in how much TIF revenue comes in. And if you drop the levy too much, there won't be enough TIF revenue to come in. I know there are a lot of discussions to happen at a later date on how this speed camera money is spent. If any of that is spent toward paying, then the levy maintaining its level is not as critical, because you have another revenue source to temporarily pay off a couple years of debt or segment it out, you know.
So what you're saying is, in a nutshell, is just keep that money separate and just have what we got going on, just keep carrying.
I think so.
Just keep doing what we're doing.
And what should happen, what I should do is put together ideas for how a financial plan for how to expend that money, that assuming everything gets put in place, split it between the departments for capital equipment and infrastructure purposes, and just develop a multi-year plan for how that would look. The revenue will be higher the first year from that source than it will be in years 2 and later. Because it'll change behavior, and that's what you want, people to slow down. But you'll have a really good revenue number the first year, and it'll probably be lower thereafter. That's what's happened in other places.
Okay.
So.
Thank
All right, thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
And very much we talked about these
Okay.
things
You
before,
bet.
so I can get back to the same.
Yeah, that's what's reflected. How it's used, Ash has that detail. And then if you want detail on the property tax legislation, that's set out over there. It was quite a change, but there are some levies that are limited, some are not. Your employee benefits, insurance are not limited. And keeping those being not limited is what allows you to keep the levy the same. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Need a motion on that.
And Craig made that comment earlier too. When we have that meeting down the road in April, I think we need to be aware too that some of these one-time fees could have implications that carry on year over year. I mean, if we go out and buy a vehicle,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
then we got a budget in insurance, maintenance.
Yeah, I think-
So I think, and we'll talk about that a little.
Yeah, when we meet, because just wanted the one time, and we have to be fair too. If you buy a truck, he's not gonna spend the rest of his life. That's not, there will come a time that he needs to get another truck. But at least we're talking about getting them all by the next 5 to 7 years. You know, but we'll do that in May meetings, you know, because this is gonna be more than the budget. I mean, the budget is easy, say. This one will be a little bit, needs more planning and more commitment and all this stuff. But we have time to do that.
Need a motion for the resolution number 2402C, setting the time, that'll be what meeting then?
February meeting,
You know what day?
February 12th, at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
Need a motion?
Motion by Kavah, second by Morgan, how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Foley,
Yes.
Kavah,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes. Everything after that is formality now, all hearings and all this stuff, so whatever you had here is gonna be the budget hearing and all this.
Hey, Dave, you mind if I take it real quick?
Yes.
Jim, can you have these one of those? I'll pass it to you. Pass it, and we got it, yeah. That's-
Yeah, that's true.
Joe's gone.
The being stone, you can't live there.
What's that?
Or being stone, you can't. even-
No, they still have permitting stuff to do yet, John.
They're still working on getting everything lined up. $200 tickets a day. Where's that at? Webster City.
There's a bunch of idiots,
So
bro.
it's almost like we spend too much time on it. I think so.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Oh, the new council?
Which I would say Highway 20, you're still which I will say Highway 20, I think it's a 65 speed limit. Yeah, you can go on 75, 80 on that pretty easy.
That's close.
That's right.
And it looks like.
Okay, we'll move on to number 4, but first of all, I want to publicly say, scheduled January 11th for the budget. I didn't request a special meeting for the safe route to school. And Jim and Corey Mason did a wonderful job moving snow, just an issue arose. And I've worked with Jim a lot of years, but I've got a few things to say about this. Because the council voted for this safe route to school on Northeast Second Street. At the time of installation of the sidewalk on Northeast Second Street, the engineers determined that the best placement of the sidewalk would be on the north side of the street. Because of the terrain on the north side varied and there were many obstacles in the way, the sidewalk was placed 4 foot from the street. Typically, sidewalks are at least 10 foot from the road, which I verified that with Forrest today, allowing for normal protocol when it comes to snow removal from the streets. The sidewalk on the south side of Catholic Church is approximately 13 foot from the curb. The sidewalk on the west side of the school is approximately 23 foot. Under normal circumstances, 4 foot is adequate for maintenance of the safe route sidewalks. However, in the instance of heavy snow, 4 foot of clearance is not sufficient to contain all the snow from the street when plowing using current practices. Modern snow equipment as used by individuals is generally sufficient to remove natural snowfall, as evidenced by the fact that a lot of residents did clean their sidewalks. However, the snow that was winged on the sidewalk after the plows went by compacted into large chunks and made some equipment such as shovels, snow plows inadequate to this task. The photograph I put on here explains of this included in the packet. On Wednesday, January 17th, I went to Doug Pote's place and discovered he was attempting to move the snow by hand. Doug said the winged snow from the street creates huge, hard, almost unimaginable chunks to move. Paul and Jeannie Shipman said the same thing. The retaining wall on the section of the sidewalk further complicates. I used my snow blower to clear the sidewalk from the Catholic Church property to the west edge of Doug Pote's property. My snow blower measures 28 inches wide, 21 inches tall, and the snout extends 40 inches tall. When I got to the retaining wall, it was almost impossible to blow the snow back to the north with the wind blowing the amount of snow needed to be moved. Tonight, I'd like to ask the council and city workers to discuss and determine a workable solution to this problem. One solution I had suggested, move if possible. It only has 5 mailboxes and no driveway on the south or sidewalks. Are there any other sidewalks in their town, Jim, that are 2 foot from the road?
They aren't 2 foot from the road, but we encountered the
They're
same
4
issue.
foot.
We encountered the same issue when we winged snow with the sidewalk from the Medical Plaza clear past the care center all the way to the corner of Park Street.
How close is that sidewalk? Do you know?
That sidewalk is probably about 6 feet,
Okay.
but we still do the same thing.
And then I don't know, did you guys move the snow Monday morning on that sidewalk or somebody else? On
We
Saturday?
did not clear it. John Schwinger cleared it because he was moving equipment from his shop.
That's why.
Into town.
It was clear, okay.
He ran through it, yes.
So I want the council, can you come up microphone, Jim, so they got a question for you?
I guess I got a question just for, I don't know if this is council to answer this or not, but just to get me caught up. So the Safe Route to School was just basically a project to put in a sidewalk for the kids to walk from the elementary school to the high school.
Correct.
It really has no designation that kids are really encouraged to walk that area. It's just, we now have sidewalks because of potentially heavier youth traffic between those two areas.
That's correct.
A lot of kids use the sidewalk.
Okay.
And parents walking their dog and just exercise. How far is the sidewalk at the Medical Plaza from that curb?
It's probably 6 to 6.5 feet,
Yeah,
but we've got a 6 foot wing.
yeah.
And I think this was something we discussed when it was put in.
You are correct. This was discussed.
You advised us that it would
Yes.
probably get covered, and I think we mentioned about pushing it over to the south side, which
There's,
I
go ahead.
I know it could be done, but that's gonna put a lot more extra time in
Well,
doing that, but I'm not a snowplow person either. It probably could be done, but I don't know.
there's a few issues, actually.
Sure.
You do have the mailboxes on the south.
Mhm.
I get daily phone calls from the post office. I don't need any more. But when you take that volume of snow, that 22-foot street, and you push it all to the south, you are going to the side of that road. Your predominant wind directions during northwest. So that snow that blows up through that draw between those houses is going to hit that south wall of snow and backfill that street. We have an issue. The Catholic Church was not real fond of having to clean that sidewalk now. They haven't cleaned it since it was put in. This is the first year it has to be cleaned, so they refuse to allow us to put snow fence there. That's why the snow is 5.5 foot deep on the side of the street. It's because there is no snow fence there. That may be reconsidered next year, but anyway. So that creates an issue. But anytime Bob Earhart and I worked together for about 5 years, and in that 5 years, we spent a lot of time plowing snow different directions, putting piles different places to see what worked the best. And the way we are doing things now is how it worked the best with the predominant wind directions and that type of stuff. So that's why we normally split it, 50-50. That we go through that we don't have to run the wing at all. Right. We just don't have that volume of snow. But when you run this much snow and this much wind was the other culprit, you get these deep piles of snow. The other thing to keep in mind is everybody right now is dealing with this snow. And as Corey well knows, I have to deal with the next 2 snows coming. So I have to make room to be able to accommodate those snows.
I remember having a discussion with you why you did that. It was because you can't pile it.
Exactly, it just tumbles back in the road, and then the road just continues to be narrower and narrower.
And I don't know if you were on, Craig, but I think it was December, maybe before the new council was seated. We had another resident up here talking about snow being piled in an alley, and I think we've run into a situation where if we make concessions for one part, then that means you're gonna be expected to do it for every part. And that's not feasible. Plus, I got up here and we've been accused of micromanaging. And I don't think it's my part to tell you how to plow snow. To be personal, would I love to see it be pushed over? Of course I would. But, I get snow in my driveway. I go out and I snow blow it. I got 72-year-old people that live over next to me, and they're snow blowing it, or they hire somebody to come down. Instead of the council making a recommendation, I think it would be between you and Ash to really talk about it. I mean, I hope somebody else just jump in, and you can interrupt me.
Yeah,
because
Is there a policy or procedure on with you? Because I don't know why, I really don't think would make that decision.
I don't think we should force you. I said, I'm not a snowplow. I'm not a sewer guy. I'm not a road guy. I could say, yeah, just trim your wing, and yeah, it would push it to the other side. But if you start doing it here on 3 blocks, then I'm going to ask you, how come you're not doing that on 3 blocks over by my place? True.
But
And
Mike, you said you moved just on your driveway. We're talking the whole sidewalk, and this is a new situation. Because we've never had a sidewalk 4 foot from the curb.
Yeah, we've got one that's behind the curb. Right here.
Yeah, but I watched him today.
We have no choice. These 2 blocks we plow all to the south because there is no parking.
I watched him today. I went to the south.
I don't know if it's our purview to dictate to you on what I think what you're doing, been doing for a while.
Quite a while.
I would just hate to set that precedent, because then where does it stop? I see the point, that's not lost on me at all. But again, where does it stop? And how do you explain to other residents that, well, we're gonna do it over here, but we're not gonna push it this way for your alley? It was a decision. Everybody's being treated the same, It's not like you're,
Even when we plow the alleys, normally when we plow alleys, we make 2 passes, one down, one back. We cut half of it one way, half of it the other way.
yeah, so
Like you did the streets, places in the streets.
I,
I mean, Corey filled in my driveway when I was up there shoveling it the other day, and
Did he honk and wave as he went
he did,
past?
he did, actually, he did. It's the nature of the beast.
It is.
And I just, after he went by, I went back out there and cleaned it up. I mean, yeah. And, but
It
this
sucks
is
to
a
do it
rare
twice,
occasion that we get 28 inches of snow in
That is
over a week.
That is true.
That's, I guess, my 2 cents would be, let's see what it does on a normal snow. But I agree with Mike 110%. I think this is your guys' deal.
And if we have less
You know,
snow, could you just, I mean, you guys are aware of the situation clearly, and this has been a new thing. But I don't know if it's a smaller amount of snow, I'm sure you guys might go slower maybe through that stretch, so that it doesn't go.
Doesn't
You get
roll.
4 foot,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
The faster you go, the farther it rolls. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But you have to provide storage room,
That
as you
is,
said.
that is
And
correct.
I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand.
And this was brought up when it was being talked about being installed, and we brought up about making it a trail and making it wider where we would clean it, and council didn't want to do that at the time, so.
I think
They
we
put it on
were
the property
constrained by the
Funding.
funding.
Yeah, we
Yes.
were already over
Yes.
budget on that.
You were over budget, so you couldn't budget that.
So, I don't know. Anybody got anything else on that? That's just my 2 cents worth. You know, it's not lost on me the fact that it's gonna be wet and heavy in chunks and whatever, you know, so, but I don't. Can I bring something else up, just while we're all here, because it has to do with snow. Trust me, I'm not blaming anybody, please don't take it that way, okay? Well, I don't want it to come across, because I have a question, it's a legitimate question, is, I had to go and pick up my kid that Friday. And I was headed down south of there, there's a few little drifts, and I got to the T intersection of 7th and South of Dare.
Yep.
There's a big drift. I was going, if I back up, I'm gonna get stuck. If I go forward, I might have a fighting chance. I had no chance. I got stuck. So kid came down and offered to take me home so I could get dug out. And unfortunately, he made a bad decision and he drove forward.
Oh, no.
Yes, and he got stuck. Worse than I was. Some people came down, they pulled me out. They said, yeah, we're not gonna be able to get to him. And he was talking, he was staying at the motel. And there was law enforcement present, and he was saying, you know, I'm staying at the motel. Could somebody just tell me when they're coming through here? I'll come get my truck. Well, his truck got towed,
So, I wasn't aware of that.
and nobody called, and it was like $400 to get his truck back.
Whoa.
So I'm just asking. I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not going to call anybody. I don't want anybody to. That's why I'm just keeping it neutral. Is that a policy? Can we find out? And if it is, can we change it? I know you didn't do it. You weren't aware.
No, I wasn't aware of
I
that.
didn't even know that truck was there, so.
Okay, but he got towed, and he was
Did you have to?
through the grapevine, because he's friends with my kid. He said it was going to be $600 to begin with, and then it was $400. Do I know if that's true? I don't know. But it was a lot of money to get your truck towed, and I hope as a city, especially after seeing the Adair County secondary roads thing, their post on Facebook, it said, if you're stuck, call the sheriff, tell them where you're at. When the plow goes down there, we'll call you. You can come get your vehicle. They weren't towing vehicles, so I hope we're just not towing. It does sound like it's something. It does sound like it's your policy.
No.
I don't know if it's a city policy, how that happened, but
I do know during snow removal operations, if they are parked on the street,
Shane, you got something?
they will tow it.
So to be fair, I was the officer working that night. I am the one that had it towed, and he was made aware that it would likely be towed.
okay. And I understand that. I didn't want to say names.
And only because it was blocking the roadway and the plows were on their way out within the hour.
Right.
If I remember correctly, it wasn't very long
Okay.
between the time that you were stuck and then he was stuck and then the plows came out. I think it was maybe an hour.
Okay.
And there was just no way for anybody to get to him to get him out. So I made that executive decision because that's how we do it, is if you're parked on the city street, notices to be given. He was notified, hey man, your truck's probably gonna get towed as soon as plows come out, because that's what usually is asked. And that's what
We've
happened.
done that in the downtown before. haven't we?
Yo, you bet, you bet.
Yeah.
So I just,
Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't mean to
you're right,
interrupt you.
go
We
ahead.
try our best not to tow vehicles,
Sure.
because I know that Ricker and Son towing is very expensive.
Right.
But they're our only option here in town, to do that.
To have it, to.
so, and I don't wanna argue or anything, I guess, when I look at it is, was he parked? He was stuck. You know, he was stuck, just like somebody out in the country might have been stuck in the roadway and they didn't get towed by the county. You know, they were given that opportunity. He was in town, he was staying at the Motel 6. I totally understand where you're coming from. If somebody was parked uptown, like, you know, in front of Ruby's or whatever, of course, you know. But if somebody's out trying to help somebody, which he was, you know, and he gets stuck, I would just,
Normally, if they're with the vehicle, then we don't have anything done, because
Okay.
they're in the process of trying to get something done. But if a vehicle's sitting there,
Stranded
know,
and.
and it's blocking the roadway to where we can't get around it, then yeah, we don't have a
And I
choice.
guess he
Sometimes
did
we have
know-
something to do.
I think you had said they were gonna be out around midnight, that was like, what, 10 or so? So it'd be hard for him to
10:30
sit.
or something like that, I can't remember what time.
Yeah, it would have been hard for him to sit for 2 hours there.
You got something, Shane?
Yeah, but
I will say, just to kind of add to that, the issue that we run into with saying, okay, we'll call you when the plows come out, 9 times out of 10, they're sleeping, they don't answer the phone, you can't find them. So then you're essentially forced to do, you know,
Okay,
to do that.
and
And
to
I'm not
that,
saying that we wouldn't have been able to get a hold of him, but he was.
and to that point, I would agree.
Sure.
If you can't get a hold of him, tell him you gave him a chance. That's kind of the way that's just my way of looking. Again, I'm not saying you did anything
Got it,
wrong.
yeah.
Please don't take it
No, I
that way.
understand.
Anybody that's watching, I'm not saying, you know, but you know, maybe if there's, it looks a little bit.
Which sounds like you
Big,
notified.
big picture, you buy a small wrecker and hire somebody to run it. and
Which
you wouldn't
one?
have to-
Wish list, right
Yeah.
there.
I told
There you
the
go.
chief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camera money.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Like I said, I just had the question. I didn't know how that was handled or who did what, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Done? All right, thanks, Jim Corey.
Thank you, guys.
All that?
Yep, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, thanks. Hold on.